if the numbers work, I tell everybody this. When somebody tries to bring me a deal and says, "Oh, I think this is good," I said, "Look, it's all in the numbers, right?" And that's cliche, but it's true, right? You look at the deal, you turn it upside down all different ways and see what you can make of it. And if the math doesn't work, it's not for you. You have to be able to move on. And I have, keep my fingers crossed, never done a deal where I didn't make six figures. And I think that's pretty awesome to be able to say, right?
Yeah, that's
Uh,
a testament as a flipper especially.
right. And every one of my deals has had either had multiple offers in 24 hours or sold in 24 hours. So that's another thing that I'm pretty proud of.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Hercules Pappas, is an investor out of New Jersey with a background as a criminal defense attorney. Hercules, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I always like to start off at the top of this show by asking guests really how they got started in the real estate space. How'd you get started?
So I got started back when I was in my 20s. I just started practicing law. I left my firm in Philadelphia, started my own practice, and bought my first condo. So that was the first place I lived in South Jersey, a town called Mount Laurel. I negotiated the deal myself, of course. I had some experience doing that for other clients, and I managed to negotiate the best deal on that condo in that development ever. And I was pretty happy with myself. So I did that. I lived in it. I fixed it up while I lived there. Didn't know much about fixing houses, but I learned YouTube videos, books, and I made it really, really nice to the point where everybody who came over said, "Wow, this is gorgeous. I didn't expect it to look like this inside," right? So when I was ready to move on and get a real place, I listed it and I negotiated the highest sales price ever in that development. So I got the lowest and then I sold at the highest. And that empowered me to say, hey, wait a minute, real estate is a great thing to do. Buy some properties, make them look good, market them properly, and take your profit.
That'll do it. I want to ask you specifically about that negotiation process. You mentioned buying it right and then selling it best as you possibly could and surprising everyone. Do most attorneys have this ability to negotiate, like, for instance, a real estate transaction, or is this a separate skill?
I think it depends on the type of attorney we discussed before. There are trial attorneys, litigation attorneys, and there are transactional attorneys. Transactional attorneys may do negotiation, but maybe not. Trial attorneys, litigation attorneys, always, every day. That's what they do, right? That's the kind of law that I practiced. And so I was seasoned in that. And really, in addition to that, I was a court-approved mediator, which is someone who helps to resolve cases. So almost not like a judge, you don't make a decision, but you get the parties to come together. So you get to the root of the problems, you take it apart, you put them in separate rooms because a lot of times there's animosity and some, problems that got them to the place where they are, right? They're just deadlocked. So you peel back the layers and you get them both to understand each other's sides by going back and forth and then make that settlement happen, right? It's not necessarily great for either side, but it's good for both of them. And I took that skill into real estate. So a lot of times it's not just, what's the number? Everybody wants the most they can get, right? But you peel that back and say, okay, what's important to this buyer or seller, right? What is really going on here under the skin? And you start to peel that back, and you can maybe create a deal that makes sense for them that's not necessarily the best in terms of the money figure, but
Right.
overall deal, right? And I think that's what I used a lot.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
In terms of getting properties cheap for myself, it's really just going at it, saying, look, your price is fair. Never ever oppose somebody like this, right? That's the worst way to start. Come in like what they call a pit bull, right? Which is what
Yeah,
some
yeah.
people say, I want a pit bull lawyer, right? I think that's the worst strategy, right? Just turns people off. They run the other way. So you come in saying, hey, look, I like your place. It's great. I think your price is fair. Let me tell you about some of my personal issues that I need help with to make this deal happen, right? People can understand that. People can look at you and say, hey, now I relate to you, right? Because I've got some issues too. Let's talk about all of them, right? And again, once you peel back those layers and you find out what that person's really looking for, they understand you and what you're looking for, you make it relatable. They get into your shoes and like, if I were on his side, I'd be saying the same thing, right? I get it. And then you meet in the middle and you make it
When
happen.
when we talk about finding these deals, I come from a background where I was licensed and am licensed in Texas of distressed single family. So we would be looking for high days on market. We would be looking for foreclosures, signs of distress. We'd also, put signs in the ground, need to sell your home quickly, this type of thing. And so we would be at the intersection of crisis in many cases. So with that, they were highly motivated to sell. When you were looking at deals in the early days in your first couple deals, were you looking for distress? Were you looking on market? Was it a mix of both?
A mix of all of those things. Everything you mentioned obviously are good factors, right? And they all come into play. But you may not have all of that. You may not even have one. But if it's the right deal for you, for example, if it's something that I'm really interested in, regardless of any of those things, I'm going to try and get it, right? So I'll look at that deal. And again, I'll talk to that person. I'll really get to the core of the issue, what they're trying to accomplish, and see if I can come to some type of middle ground where it makes sense for both of us. Sometimes it's a matter of just finding out what they're doing next. Let's say, for example, that they want to relocate, right? Like, look, I just want to be out of here. I need the most money I can to go to Florida, right? Oh, where are you going in Florida? I'm going to Fort Lauderdale. I happen to know a realtor there. And in fact, I happen to know some investors there. Are you handy? Sure. I'll get something cheap and fix it up. Great. I know some people selling some worthwhile properties that would be perfect for you. If I could put that together for you, can we see eye to eye in this deal for me? Again, you're doing something for them. They're doing something for you. Of course it would. You make that happen, right? And then now all of a sudden they've gotten value on the other side of that deal that maybe they don't need, but they thought they needed on this side.
And that's how these deals come together. It's a give and a take. I think too many times investors will come in with a take it or leave it attitude. I think that's probably the norm, and that's not leading it to feel like it's a team effort. Even though you're buying their property, it should feel like they have some say in a sense. I want to pivot a bit here and ask you about eventually going full time with real estate. I think a lot of people listening to this may say, "Okay, experienced trial attorney. How does one go from that to going full time in real estate?" It seems like two totally different areas. How did that come about for you?
Well, so as I said, while I was practicing, I was doing a deal here and there. I sold that first condo. I used that money to buy another property. That property I was going to use for our office, and then the township turned down the variance. So it was in one of those areas that's sort of on the border, right? There's some professional, there's some residential. So we figured another professional, they'll approve, no problem. So I purchased the building. We went to the board. They said, we don't like the plan, right?
If you're looking for consistent, high quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Even though I went to them prior to purchasing it and said, can you give me a preliminary, thumbs up, or just say this is never going to happen, right? I'd at least appreciate that before making the purchase. They said, yeah, I mean, we see other professionals there. As long as you do everything that we tell you to do, you have the right square footage, you get an engineer, basically spend a lot of money. We don't see any reason why that wouldn't be approved. Did all that stuff, spent a lot of money, and they said no.
Mm.
Very unhappy with that situation. However, still worked out. So we ended up selling the property and made six figures on it and selling it just because of the improvements. And, somebody actually ended up purchasing it for a different reason, but they had all the studies that we already purchased and they were able to use those and get some value from that. So still worked out. And again, like I said, deal one, deal two, they're all good, right? Then I go to deal three where I bought a tear down house that had a lot of land available for development. It was in a very nice area with a lot of nice homes. So I saw that, purchased that, didn't even care about the house, marketed it to a bunch of builders in the area and said, hey, you have 6 potential lots here and a nice little development. And this area down here, Mount Laurel, that was a town, very booming at the time. Not a lot of ground. So if you had it, it was valuable. And a lot of these builders wanted to build wherever they could. The tiniest footprint that they could build on, they would build. And so I marketed that and did extremely well, 5 times my money on that one. And I just kept going forward. So time was the issue, right? I'm
Right.
working my butt off as a litigation attorney, 60, 70 hours a week sometimes,
Right.
but I still love that real estate deal, right? That getting that hit every 1 or 2 years felt good. And it was nice for the bank account, to get some reserves. So I guess the final transition is all about, you just have to make a decision. I'm going to jump in. Now, my brother rode on my coattails for a little bit, ended up losing his job in the 2008 crisis. He was a mortgage guy, lost any chance of employment because nobody was doing mortgages then.
Yep.
And he said, that real estate's worked out for you. I think I'm going to take a crack at it. So I taught him everything. I sent him an angel investor who gave him 10 million to start with, which was great.
Yeah.
And he just really took off. So I watched him really, really build wealth over the years in real estate to the point where he's set at 40 years old and he doesn't have to work anymore. So I said, that's what I want. I need to stop working. I need to just have to take the plunge, right? At some point, you make that decision that you're going to take a risk. And it's nice and safe to have a career, especially a professional career that you can count on and always get employment or work for yourself, which is what I did for most of it. But you'll never make it. There are only a certain number of hours in the day. So you're trading time for money, right? My time is worth X amount. My time could never be worth enough to reach the level of wealth that my brother had reached in that period of time. So I said, in order to make this happen for me, I have to cut ties with my full-time career, which is what I did. So I didn't, I still maintain my New York license just to send referrals to people. But other than that, I don't practice at all. And this real estate has been now 3 years. I love it. I will
I want
never
to.
look back.
I want to ask you. And we were mentioning. I was talking about this before hopping on here with you. It seems to me like it's such a natural thing for attorneys to at least be passively involved in real estate investing because they have all the information that they need to better understand contracts than anyone else. But I've spoken to so many attorneys, and either they don't have time or they view it as a risky investment. Is that common where, maybe they're sitting from the sidelines and just never get an opportunity to hop in as an investor?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Couple of things. Number one, you mentioned time and risk. Those are probably 90% of lawyers that won't do it. Time, we're all busy. Everybody thinks lawyers are on the golf course all the time. We're not. We're busy working nonstop. Our cell phones never stop. Our email never stops. Text messages never stop. It's a tough job. So time is the thing. You can't get enough time to go and run these projects and still practice full time. Number two, risk factor. Most lawyers, again, litigators are sort of the small percentage of the field, right? Even though everybody thinks that's what we all do. That's not true, right? It's about 10% of lawyers are actual litigators, full-time litigators. We're the risk takers, right? That's the personality that we have. So for us, I think it's a no-brainer to just dive in and say, hey, what could go wrong, right? But most other lawyers, transactional lawyers, they're the safety nuts, right? They know what they know and they're happy with what they know. They don't want to put anything on the line. They don't want to lose anything. They're not gamblers, right? It's a different mindset. So I think that's what stops a lot of them in going through it. As far as the other thing you mentioned about contracts, well, all that actually doesn't matter. So what a lot of people don't realize in the law, there is no black and white. It does not exist. The whole thing is gray, right? So there's nothing. Somebody comes to you and says, I need a legal opinion. Here are the facts. What's the answer? Well, it could be this, right? Or it could be this, or it could completely be something else, right? Over here. You don't know. You don't know. It's a people-based business, right? You don't know how other lawyers are going to react. You don't know how other litigants are going to react, and you don't know how judges are going to react, or a jury, for that matter. You could have the same case in front of 5 different juries and get 5 different results. You don't know. So contract law is the same way. Real estate in particular. I tell all my real estate clients, this contract that you just filled out and signed at the end means nothing. At the end of the day, if the other side wants out of the deal, if you want out of the deal, you're getting out. That's it. That's the bottom line, right? Nobody's going to go through the hassle of litigation, not to mention in real estate law, specific performance would be making them go through with the contract. That's the legal term for it, right? Doesn't exist. Most states don't even recognize it. And the states that do will say that you have to have extreme circumstances to get that kind of relief. Otherwise, you just sue for money and you're spinning your wheels. How much did you lose by not taking that deal and going with another deal, right? A couple $1,000, not worth a lawsuit. So that's the cold hard reality is most people don't sue. I sued on one case over a real estate contract for specific performance. Again, almost never happens. We went to trial and I won. It was written up in the law journal. I was so proud of myself. I was like, I can't believe I won that, right? but it was a specific house that was very unique. He was on the market for 2 years to get a buyer because it was a wacky house, right? It's just put together, had like geodesic domes all over and like geometric squares. It was a weird house. I wouldn't want it. I don't know who would, but somebody did, right? But it took him 2 years to find that buyer. And once that guy said, and he really had no good reason for canceling contract, just wanted out. And he figured, like I just said, it's easy to get out of a real estate contract. Who cares? Nobody's going to sue me. Like I did sue, right? Because he knows it's another 2 years till I find the next guy that wants this weird house. So because of those particular details, the judge said, look, in most situations, I would not do this. However, I understand this particular lawsuit, right? This is so unique of a house that maybe 1 out of 1,000 lookers might want it. So he's not going to be able to sell it to anybody else. And because you don't have a good reason to get out of this contract, I'm going to enforce it.
Wow.
It was fantastic.
That is win right
one
there.
in a million. 1 in a million.
I want to pivot and ask you about the development space, specifically, getting land shovel ready, looking for developers, builders to buy these deals. When we talk about vacant land, you're in New Jersey. There's not as much vacant land in New Jersey as there is in Texas, where I'm licensed. But nonetheless, development seems to be huge everywhere. Even if people may have lost money buying, into syndications from 2020 and then holding on to it until today and needing to exit. You're seeing a lot of distress in multifamily. Nonetheless, it still seems like development is happening everywhere. Do you have any feedback or guidance for folks who may be looking at moving from the single family space into development or working more alongside developers?
So here where I live, as you indicated, there's not a lot of development. There's just no ground, right? So if someone finds a lot that has an old house, they'll knock the house down and they'll put it up. But there's no new ground available, at least in this area. There are places in New Jersey still in the sticks, so to speak, middle of the woods, that there is land available. But then again, you don't have the buyer market for that because nobody wants to be there, right? But all the desirable spaces in most of the state, there's no land available. So I haven't had much development opportunity. Like I said, when I saw it, I seized it, right? I knew that that was a rare find and I marketed to a bunch of builders and everybody was bidding on it because it's so rare here. So unfortunately, I don't have that experience. I did it that one time and it was great, but I
Yeah,
haven't developed real estate other than that one time, simply for the lack that it's not here,
the
right?
land.
If I find it again, I'll do the same thing, but I haven't been able to.
What's your perspective on folks who are investing across state lines? Like you mentioned, not a lot of or any vacant land in most parts of New Jersey. So, for folks who may be looking at new construction as a strategy and maybe thinking, well, I'll buy some land in Texas, or I'll buy some land in Alabama or Oklahoma or wherever, but I live in New Jersey. I've done fix and flipping over here, but I want to get started in development. I've spoken to some people like this. I said, that
Correct.
sounds like a risk. So my hat goes off to you if you can do it. Eh, Do you think that investing across state lines in that type of fashion is feasible for folks who haven't done it before? Or do you really want to be where you're at if you're going to be breaking ground for the first time?
So it's all about comfort zone, right? Risk. My comfort zone is here. So I go within an hour of where I live. I know everything here. I'm comfortable with everything here. I don't have to look up values. I know them already, right? I see them every day. I think that that's a nice comfort zone. I'm not saying don't be a pioneer and go somewhere else where you think there's a good deal, right? If you think you have that risk tolerance and you can go out of state and you can fly back and forth and still be comfortable, only having your boots on the ground for a small period of time, in small chunks of time, go for it, right? If the numbers work, I tell everybody this. When somebody tries to bring me a deal and says, "Oh, I think this is good," I said, "Look, it's all in the numbers, right?" And it's cliche, but it's true, right? You look at the deal, you turn it upside down all different ways and see what you can make of it. And if the math doesn't work, it's not for you. You have to be able to move on. And I have, keep my fingers crossed, never done a deal where I didn't make six figures. And I think that's pretty awesome to be able to say, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
as a flipper, especially.
Right. And every one of my deals has had either had multiple offers in 24 hours or sold in 24 hours. So that's another thing that I'm pretty proud of. But everybody has their different strategies, right? So I mentioned my brother does real estate. He's more of a high volume guy, right? So he's not going to really pay as much attention to the finish levels and the quality as much as I need to get this thing done in a certain period of time and get it out. I'd rather make less money and do 100 homes than have them sit, right? And that's a good mentality to make money, right? It's a good business strategy. Mine is a little bit different. They're both just different business models. Mine is I'm making quality homes that I would live in, right? So I make sure the finished levels are perfect. I might spend another 20 grand, but it makes me feel good, right? And
Yeah.
as a result, I think turning that around into a business model and turning into cash, which is what you want to do, I think I may not get as much back as I put in, right? So let's say I spend 20 grand, I might not get 40 grand back. So I just doubled my investment. I might get 25 grand back on the top side of what it already was worth, right? However, my house will sell in a day. And to me, that has value, right? Because when you put my house against everybody else's, they're going to say, okay, yeah, I'm not going to pay 100 grand more for his house. I'll pay 25 grand more and I'll buy it right now, right? Because they want that house versus everything else they've seen.
Uh-huh. Without giving
So
away the gold, how are you getting offers in such a short period of time? That is incredible.
that's exactly why my houses look like they're ready for a magazine. So when I'm finished, and I look at that stuff all the time. I look at publications and I go on, how's the app, right? Where you get all these different design ideas. And I look at what's trending and what looks good, and I pick the best finish levels, and I put everything together nicely where, like I said, you walk in and you think you're on a show on television, right? And you're looking at this incredible rehab, or you think you just saw this in a magazine. You're, oh my God, this is incredible, right? That's what I love to hear when people walk in the door. I go to a lot of my open houses just to get that satisfaction that, hey, I made something great. And because of that level of product, like I said, compare that with everybody else's old busted home, right? They're like, well, I could change this and I need to change those cabinets. And people are thinking about that. And it's really weighing on them that I'm going to pay 800, a million for this house. And I
And I got
still
to
have to
change
do
this.
200,000 work and deal with contractors and worry about stuff and aggravation, have my house disrupted. Whereas they walk into mine and say, I can move it tomorrow and I'm good, right? That has value.
That
So I think that, yeah, I think that adds to them. Mine are like new construction, you know, um, and I think that's good. It was long and tangential answer to your out of state question, but same thing. Going back to that, go with what makes you comfortable, right? If you want to explore and you want to be in another state, I have a property in Philadelphia, which is not far from me. It's 45 minutes. I hate
Yep.
it. I hate going there. I hate dealing with it. Right? I just don't want to, so it's everybody's comfort level. If you like that, if you're an explorer and you want to go to that particular, you want to go to Texas and hang out and see what it's like, maybe move there in the future, maybe retire there. That's a great time to make an investment and see what it's like. But risk level, tolerance level, and how much cash can you lose if the deal goes bad? You have to factor all that in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All that comes into play, and there's no sure thing with flips especially. So congrats on being able to see a good profit and quick turn on all of those deals. That's impressive. We are coming up on time here though, Hercules. Where can folks go to reach out to you? Maybe they're in New Jersey, they have a deal they'd like you to look at. How can folks learn more about what you have going on?
So I will tell you, it's funny because when I signed up for this, it asked a bunch of questions, headshot, your social media, your website. I have none of that. So I do have a Facebook account. I don't really use it. Uh, and I'll tell you why. Because when I was practicing law, I had 300 text messages a day, 300 phone calls, 300 emails. I had my website that people came through. I had so many ways to contact me and so much media out there that I got burnt out. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be peaceful. I'm going to sit in a house and manage contractors and maybe work on some things myself and just be quiet in my mind. So I don't really have any of that. I do welcome anybody to call me. I give my cell phone number to anybody. I don't know if you want me to say it, if you want to put it.
Either one, yeah.
Yeah, sure. 609-923-2233. That's one thing I will do. I'll talk to anybody or text message. I will not, I don't check email even, unless somebody says, hey, I tell everybody, if you send me an email, text me or call me first. Tell me you sent it so I can look for it because they get buried in 2 hours. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've left that behind me. I know it's not very today of me, but because of 25 years of it, I've earned it.
It'll burn anybody out. I mean,
Yeah.
months of it would I understand where you're coming from with that. Hercules, thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
Great. Thank you for having me. This was fantastic.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.